We are now going to be moving on to a highlight of the evening. The 4 Bar Mitzvah stars were interviewed, and we created a beautiful video presentation for all of you to see, where they talk a little bit about this experience, what it means to them, a little bit about their upbringing and what brought them to deciding to do a Bar Mitzvah tonight. So if you'll all please have your attention focused on the screens at the far end of the room.
Was really into Christianity, even though we were Jewish. So it was a little bit confusing knowing where I stood religiously, because my dad would always insist on bringing me and my brother and sister to church, and my mom, of course, had a problem with that because we're Jewish kids. My brother had a bar mitzvah when he was 13, 12 or 13, whenever boys have bar mitzvahs. But when my parents divorced, there wasn't money for me to have a bat mitzvah, so I was part of a bat mitzvah club. Everyone was family. If you're Jewish, you're family. And it was it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. We're all a big community, and that's what I really love about Judaism. And that's why I've been wanting to get more involved lately, because it's that feeling of being cared about. That is amazing. It's I get a second chance for something that I never had. When I was, you turn 13 and you're this is the age when I'm supposed to have a bat mitzvah. And then, you're 14, 15, 16, oh, it's too late now, I can't have a bat mitzvah now, I'm too old for that. But then I realized, hey, I guess I have sort of a second chance at this. That's kind of cool. This is sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity. Well, I feel the bat mitzvah thing, if I am to identify as a Jewish woman, that rite of passage is the bat mitzvah. And I think that every Jewish woman should be able to have it.
Both my father and my stepfather were not Jewish, so I grew up just kind of experiencing both Christian and Jewish religions. But I think I always felt a little bit more of an inclination towards my Jewish side, just because I lived with my mother most of the time. I only saw my father on weekends, and I never really lived close to my mother's side of the family. They lived in Toronto, and I always lived about an hour away. So the only time I really got to see them and really got to experience my Judaism, I guess, was whenever I visited my family for the high holidays or for birthdays or any special events that we had going on. All the places that I lived were very rural and very small towns, so there are no synagogues in Milton. I mean, there might be now, but when I was growing up, there were no synagogues in Milton, Ontario. Yeah, my mom, while she didn't really teach me a lot of the details of being a Jewish person, she gave me a lot of reading material. I read Hannah's Suitcase, and I read books about the Holocaust and stuff when I was younger, and that's, I guess, kind of how I was introduced to it. Was we are people, we have a purpose, we stood up for ourselves and stood up for our spirituality. But I never really learned about that spirituality itself a lot. A couple months ago, I was writing an article on spirituality, and I met up with Chloe Swanek, who had been a friend of mine, and I kind of knew a little bit about her story, but I didn't know all of the details. So I spoke with her, and she told me about kind of finding Judaism when she was an adult, and all of the lessons that she learned through Chabad. And she said, oh my gosh, you should totally try it. So then I came to the first Shabbat here, and that's kind of takes me to where I am right now. A really important part of growing into an adult is understanding yourself, understanding your background, understanding your history, and understanding your take on spirituality, depending on where you see it and stuff. And I think this is a really good opportunity for me to learn more about my background and my spirituality, and things that I should treasure and things that I should understand.
I was always pretty much the only Jew in my class. In the group of friends, I was the token Jewish girl. I I've never actually been to a bar mitzvah before. I didn't have any friends that had a bar mitzvah. My father wanted to send me to Israel for the first time. He could tell you that I really didn't want to go. I just didn't want to sit on a plane for 11 hours. I wasn't interested in that because it really didn't mean a lot to me. And I went, and I had a lot of questions, and I started realizing that this is a big thing. You know, it's a whole country that's taken over by Judaism, and everybody there is wearing kippahs and tzitzit, and I could really see that this was, you know, it's not just me being the only Jew anymore. I was surrounded by Jews, and it was a really interesting experience. Made me realize how much of a big deal this really is, not just a small part. And that was really the beginning of the journey. I started learning, and I didn't really understand. There's a lot of things I couldn't form a concept for, and just needed some help understanding. So I continued, and I got involved with you and Chaim, and taking some classes. And I went back to Israel again, and learned even more. Got to know more Jews, and I found on these trips, the more Jews I get to know, like that's where the real learning takes place. Is when I'm one-on-one with another young Jew like myself, just figuring out what they learned about Judaism and their own experiences. I find that's where most learning takes place. Since I went to Israel for that first time, I really have taken a journey with Judaism, and I've learned so much. And now getting a bar mitzvah is kind of just like certifying that, I guess, and will make me feel more of a complete Jew as I continue my journey learning Judaism.
I was almost 5 years old, or 5 going on to 6, my parents found out that I was initially actually blind for the first 5 years of my life. And at that point my eyes have developed to a certain extent where if I had to get surgery done by a certain age, or else I would be blind for the remainder of my life. Speaking to medical professionals and to some of our community members, we decided to move on to Israel and take our birthright, as my family is Jewish, from my mom's side, and we went there to try to get that surgery done. Living in Israel at that time was more than just experiencing Israel for what it is, but it offered me a lot more, because that's where my true life began. That's where my childhood began, because I have no memory previous to my 6 years. It's all started at Israel, and so that's where a lot of my grassroots are. I've lived 5 years in Israel, and then we moved on to Canada. I truly started university when I met yourself and Han, when I started to contribute back and really attend a lot of those events. I'm the youngest of 5, so at that point all my sisters have had the privilege of having their bat mitzvahs at Jerusalem. So not only did they have it, you know, but they also had it in Israel, in the Holy Land of Israel, and they had it in the holy city of Jerusalem. And I'm not gonna lie, every time I had to go to one of them, I was really jealous, because I was like, I can't wait till I have one of those. I can't wait till it's just a day about me. So when I came to Canada and I turned 12, it was just another birthday, and it didn't feel like I had the same connection that my sisters did to my Jewish background. And it's something that I've been thinking about, but I wasn't sure, and then an opportunity came up, and I don't know why, but I remember getting an email from you, and I was like, this is it. Like, I had that feeling kind of cringe in my heart a little bit, being like, maybe this is it, you know, maybe this is my chance, this is my opportunity. Because my childhood started so late, I almost feel like it kind of needs to take the next step. And there hasn't been a next step for a while, especially because of all the changes in my life. So I'm really hoping that the bat mitzvah is going to take that next step and to open some doors for me to start seeing how can I get more involved in the Jewish community, or how can I truly take on the role of a Jewish woman as I grow into my early 20s.
I'd like to call up now the Community Service Chair of the Chabad Student Network to please come up, Tal Klatscha, and to introduce our Bat Mitzvah stars for the evening.
Hello, testing, okay. Hi everyone, thanks for coming out to this amazing event. Jill, is she here? Jill and Jessica did an amazing job planning it. Everything looks absolutely beautiful and we're so happy so many of you could come here tonight and celebrate the bat mitzvah of these 4 young ladies. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our ladies for tonight. So the first one, Ariel, please make your way up. Oh, okay. Bear with us. She's just gonna grab her speech.
Good evening, my name is Ariel and I'm very pleased to be part of the festivities this evening. Admittedly, I'm not very familiar with many of the religious aspects of Judaism, but to me, Judaism means family, community, and spirituality, and I hold all of these qualities very close to my heart. The Jewish community has always made me feel welcome and loved, even when other facets of my life have not made me feel this way. Judaism to me means acceptance and tolerance of every individual and unconditional love for everyone. I hope to be able to spread this kind of love and warmth onto everyone I surround myself with in my life. The Jewish culture is one that I am very proud to be a part of. I want to thank Chaim and Yocheved very much for making me feel so loved and welcome, and for reminding me why I am very proud to call myself a Jewish woman. We are all one big family, and that is something which I value greatly. Thank you all very much for coming tonight.
I'd like to call up our second bat mitzvah. Dali, please make your way up.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. I don't know a lot of you here, but I'm really looking forward to meeting you, and I appreciate all of the support that you're giving me. I really want to thank my friends over at that table, for being here with me, and I really want to thank Rochavad and Yocheved and Haim for helping me, and your daughters. They've been really wonderful and really fantastic. Yocheved told me that I should talk about my experience and my history a little bit, so that's what I'm going to do. And I'd like to start off by sharing kind of an anecdote from my childhood that is kind of important to me. It's a pretty significant moment in the development of my identity. So I went to a public school in rural Milton, Ontario, with around 400 other students, and I can remember sitting in this Christmas assembly. And as has kind of become the trend in public schools, the presenters really made an effort to be politically correct. They started talking about Christmas and all the wonderful things that happen at Christmas. And then they started talking about the other religions that just kind of happen to have holidays that fall around Christmas time. So they started talking about Hanukkah, and they get into the festival a little bit before they ask if anybody in the crowd was Jewish. I was a pretty shy and awkward teenager and tween, so I didn't really want to raise my hand, not because I was ashamed of anything, but just because I really didn't want to speak in front of people. I've grown a little bit since then. And of course, my friends all pointed at me and signaled me out, and I had to get up and stand in front of these 400 people. So as I'm walking to the front of the stage in my mind, I'm kind of thinking like, okay, so how can I simplify this story so that people 13 and under can understand it? And saying the ancient Jews were oppressed and they fought against the oppression, and they were in their temple for 8 days and nights with this like oil that was only supposed to last 1 day, and then it lasted 8 days, and it was great, and you know, there was a miracle and everybody was happy. Simplified, of course. I thought that I would be asked about the history of the holiday, about its importance, and instead, when I reached the stage, I was asked what kinds of food we eat at Hanukkah, and I was asked where I could buy a menorah. So now, almost exactly a decade later, I still look back at that moment with a little bit of frustration. I'm a storyteller. For the last 5 years, I've been studying journalism, not at Carleton, so just a little curveball there. I remember feeling really frustrated because I just wasn't asked the right question. I wasn't able to tell the right story. I really felt like there was so much more to share about my culture than what kind of food we eat or where we can buy some of our tools, I guess. And I realized that I was different from all my friends in that moment, and it was the first time I really remember embracing my Judaism. Just to clarify, I've never been like a particularly religious person. My mother's been married twice, and either my dad or my stepdad was Jewish. But instead of just enforcing one religion on me, they allowed me to kind of partake in both Christianity and Judaism. So I grew up celebrating Hanukkah, then Christmas, Easter, then Passover, Yom Kippur, and then Thanksgiving. And it was great. It was a good time. I had twice as many events to celebrate, and twice as many times to mourn, and twice as many times to get chocolates and presents. So that was great. And perhaps it was because I was closest to my mother, or because I got less exposure to my Jewish side and it seemed more exotic, or maybe it was just because in the context of growing up in a rural area, it made me feel kind of unique. But for some reason, I was always really drawn to Judaism. I wasn't particularly religious, but I loved taking part in the high holidays and listening to the Hebrew prayers and songs, even though I had no clue what was being said. I remember asking my grade Ziti Lou to teach me Yiddish phrases. Usually they were kind of dirty, and I don't really remember any of them, but it was it was a good time. I was kind of a Jew on the edge. I was really interested, but I wasn't totally immersed in the culture. A few years ago, my mother's family acknowledged their centennial anniversary of being in Canada, and to celebrate, we brought in family from all over the world. We stayed in Toronto for a few days and we just shared our history. It was really great. We toured the old Jewish quarters. We kind of reflected on the struggles that my family dealt with coming over from Russia 100 years ago. We talked about the anti-Semitism that my great-uncle faced as he tried to become a doctor in Canada in the early 1900s. It was not easy. And we discovered that we had family from all around the world. And we were celebrating this Jewish identity, and I kind of realized that I still didn't know a lot of what made that Jewish identity. So fast forward to 2013, this summer, I heard a CBC radio broadcast that was discussing the number of people who grew up experiencing multiple faiths like myself, and kind of led them to see themselves as spiritual, but not necessarily identifying with one religion. It kind of inspired me to write this article exploring a similar concept, but the inverse. I had known of others who had found a connection with this particular religion, but who decided to explore their spirituality while in college or university. I talked to Buddhists, Christians, people who believe in crystal energies, and smudging rituals. I also talked to my friend Chloe, who saw a picture of her before, who did her bat mitzvah here last year. She shared her story with me and invited me to Shabbat dinner with her Havad, and I thought, great, this will be super interesting. I'll be able to get some great video for this article I'm working on, which ended up not being the case because, as most of you probably know, it's a really religious day and you're not supposed to do anything, especially take video. So now I can admit to myself that when I started writing that article, I was looking for a part of myself. I've shared so many fantastic stories about the most interesting people, but I feel I've reached a point in my life that I need to start looking at my own history and my own story. That self-exploration really started at that Shabbat dinner when Chloe pointed out that I was half Jewish like her. Immediately, Yocheb and Haim were so accepting and kind and insisted that I come and visit and learn with them. I'm happy to say that I've learned so much about my history, and I'm really looking forward to continuing that Jewish education. For me, this bat mitzvah is about celebrating my story. It seems fitting that I'm doing it right as I'm about to graduate, and I look forward to the adventure of independent adulthood. Traditional bat mitzvahs happen when girls are 12 when they come of age, and for me, that's a decade later. Time is now.
I would like to call up our third bat mitzvah, Dana. Make your way up here.
Hi, I'm nervous. It's okay. So I'd like to start out by thanking you, Chaved and Chaim, for putting on this beautiful, beautiful event for us tonight. It's amazing how many people that they interact with, apart from their own 5 children, and they still make everybody feel that they meet just so special. Like we have a really close relationship, even though there's so many students, and I just feel really a part of their family. I look like a part of their family, but I feel it. And it's because of them that I've had the opportunity to be more involved in Jewish life, to learn and grow to the point where I'm ready to be Bat Mitzvah today. I'd like to share the story briefly of how I came to know Yochai and Chaim and the journey that I've been on ever since. So I'm not sure if Chaim remembers, but I met him the week before Hanukkah in 2011. I had been living on my own for the first time in Res, in the dorms here at UAW. And on my way out to class, Chaim was at a table outside my res selling Hanukkah goodies. And I walked by and I went to class. And on my way back, I saw he was still out there in the cold. That's dedication. And I had some coins, change in my pocket. I thought maybe I'll have enough to buy something. I don't know, make him happy. He looks lonely out by the table. But instead, he refused my money. And he gave me everything he had. He gave me a donut, candles, a menorah. He added me on Facebook and invited me to the Facebook group. It was really great. So that first year living on my own, I hadn't planned on lighting the Hanukkah candles every night, but I was able to, all because of that. And only once did I set off the fire alarm in my dorm. How I came to know Yochai was truly incredible, truly divine providence. So this was a few months later. I moved out of res, and I just got a house with some friends in the market, so it was pretty expensive, and I thought I gotta start making a little more money. So I decided I was gonna start teaching guitar again. So I put up an ad completely anonymously on Kijiji, and you can probably tell where this is going. You'll have it answer the ad. And ever since then, maybe a year and a half ago, I've been teaching their daughters Chaya and Risha guitar, and it's just such a great opportunity to get to know the kids and to come to their house every week and get to know the family. It's really great. And since then, I've taken really great, inspiring classes from both Yochai and Chaim. They've arranged for me to go on a 2.5-week program to Israel last year. And also they got me to go to Key Largo, Florida for a program this winter, in the dead of winter. It was really nice to go to Florida. Thank you so much. So now I know so much more about Judaism, a heritage that I'm really, really lucky and proud to be a part of. And the bottom line of everything that I've learned from all the classes and all the excursions I've been on is really the importance of family, just being grateful for what I have, knowing that everything in life happens for a reason, always to take the opportunity to help others, and so much more. And now I know that everything in life happens for a reason. So when I was 12 years old, it wasn't the right time to have my bat mitzvah. And now is the right time to start my life as a Jewish woman. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. I'd like to call up our last but
taller than usual, as you guys can see, so it's situation is not working. I apologize for being a little late. I went into a bit of a diabetic reaction beforehand, so I had to make sure my health is in check before I came here. You know, I didn't prepare any specific speech because I thought I would come here and I'd get the feel of everyone and really go with the flow. And I was really, really stressed out coming a little bit late, but then coming in here and seeing this room full of life and full of people who really, really want to be there for us girls, as well as seeing my family here and how excited they were to come here today. And I have quite a big family. This is only probably like 3/4 of it, so it's really, really nice for me to see my entire family come together under one roof to celebrate something that's really important to me. So I wanted to give a big thank you to my family for being here, as well as what I call my other family, which is my Jewish community, which is you guys. Thank you so much for coming here and celebrating this really, really important time of my life, as well as the other 3 girls. And I'm sure you guys saw the bit of the video, and as I talked about how my sisters had so many of their own bat mitzvahs, and how at the time we lived in Jerusalem, or not Jerusalem, we lived in Israel, so they had their bat mitzvahs in Jerusalem. And I always remember sitting there and being like, one day, I'm going to be that girl. I'm going to be that girl walking that stage, and I'm going to be that girl in front of the wall of Jerusalem, getting my own siddur and having my own bat mitzvah. And unfortunately, the day never came because when I was 10, I moved to Canada. And so I remember when I turned, I remember if it was 12 or 13, my mom came into my room first thing in the morning, and she's like, Camilla, today you're becoming a woman. And she handed me a deodorant. And she said, I don't have a siddur, but I have this. And this is my token of telling you that you're becoming a woman today, and you are getting the power of using the tools of womanhood. A little more personal than a siddur, but I cherished it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a big girl now. I'm just like my sisters. But as I grew up and as my years passed on, I didn't feel as fully, whole as my sisters got a chance to. And so when the opportunity came up to have one last chance for me to have a bat mitzvah, I jumped right onto it. It took me a few minutes to think about, really, is it that time for me? Have I passed my chance? But the beautiful thing about the Jewish culture is it's never too late. And people will appreciate that about you. Your family will be there to support you, and it's my own journey. My own journey doesn't seem to be as chronological as a typical bat mitzvah for a girl, but it's still happening, and that's still really important to me. So a huge thank you again to Rabbi Chaim and Yocheved and everyone who put this event together for making this opportunity possible for me and the other girls. And I really hope you have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you so much to all of the bat mitzvahs who spoke so eloquently and shared with us their personal stories. We are very honored tonight to have a very special person here, Rabbi Bolga from Congregation Machzikei Hadas, and we'd like to invite him to come and share with us some inspirational words. So, please
Can't do that on Shabbat. Thank you very much. It's great to be here tonight. I thank you both, Rabbi Chaim and Yocheved. All of you are now going on to a non-hockey diet. Saturday night is usually hockey night in Canada. No hockey tonight from what I know. And one of the highlights of hockey night is the 3 stars at the end of the game. We had tonight 4 stars. The only difference is not only the number, but each one is a number 1 star. And to all of you who just joined the ranks, Mazel Tov. And we hope and pray that this is the beginning of a long journey in which you continue to reconnect in a very solid way over time. You know that something like this tells you what Jewish life and Jewish outreach is all about. There's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape, but the bottom line is it's connection of people to people. And Rabbi Chaim and Yocheved have done an incredible job over the time that they be here. They agonize over people and how they're doing, and they live and breathe this one-to-one connection between people, and that's what really makes the difference in life. You can write all the nice books and you can do all the nice speeches, but in the end, it's the people connection. So Rabbi Chaim and Yocheved, Yash Koyach to you for the great job that you're doing, and let's have a hand for them. A few comments on some of the speeches that were made. One of you said you were called upon when you were young to make a snapshot presentation of Jewish history. So the next time you're called upon, don't be shy and tell them this famous line, Judaism can be condensed into 9 words. They wanted to kill us, we won, let's eat. That's easy, right? And the other one, the last one, who I'm happy you're well, and you mentioned something about your mother giving you perfume at your bat mitzvah. Now, it's a nice, funny story, but if you follow the Torah readings of this week, last week, next week, and the following week, there's a terminology used about Maaseh Rokeach. That's the work of the perfumer. And it turns out that having a nice fragrance is so important in terms of attractiveness. And we actually incorporated it in the rituals of the sanctuary. So your mother may have hit upon something that you didn't even know about. Most important, I just wanted to share with you an interesting thought with regard to the meaning of all this, not only for the 4 girls, but also for all of us. There is an interesting statement describing Judaism, or what we call the Torah, which is where Judaism is found, as a tree of life. And the words that are used in the Hebrew is Eitz Chaim Hila Machazikim Bo, which you probably has a familiar ring, one of the famous songs that we sing in Shul. But really what it means is it's a tree of life to those that are holy. The question really is, or to those that grasp onto it, in order to grasp onto it, you basically have to hold on, right? Now we know that a tree is made of branches, and to hold on to a tree is very difficult, but the only way you can hold on to a tree is by holding on to the branch. But the branch is something that sometimes can also break. It's very fragile. And there are people around who unfortunately have never had a piece of the branch and have never connected. So what is happening tonight is almost like a tree graft. That you are coming with your own branch, which is basically your history, and you're being grafted onto the Jewish tree. And for you to know that, from what I know from people who work in the tree industry, the people that are grafted on, or the branches that are grafted onto the tree, if the graft is done well, the branches actually flower. But even more importantly is the fact that the more branches there are on the tree, the stronger the tree is. And this basically is our way of saying to you, for you, you have made a connection to the tree tonight, and we are delighted. But we're also delighted to know that you have made our tree stronger. Because 4 more Jewishly committed young ladies like you makes our future all the more stronger. It makes us feel energized about the future. It makes us feel good that in this generation, when people are choosing all sorts of crazy alternatives, that you have chosen this. So you have uplifted all of us by your being uplifted tonight. We thank you and we wish you Mazel Tov.
much, Rabbi Volkov, for those very inspiring words. You're going to have to forgive me, but I'm going to actually be calling you back up here, along with a very dear friend of the Chabad Student Network, David Freeman, and Tal Klatchuk, and Franny Wagensberg, and we are going to be presenting a very special and meaningful gift to each of the Bat Mitzvah stars. So if all of the Bat Mitzvah girls can please come forward to accept their gift. And I just want to say the gift is right now gift wrapped, but just so that you all know, it was purchased from a Judaic store, and it is a beautiful Shabbat candlestick, so that each of them can really now go and bring these strong feelings of being involved now in Judaism and really be able to light up their lives every Friday night at Shabbat with this beautiful gift. Turning up the volume on the music, and we are going to have a lavish dessert spread and some dancing along with some very festive music. So that concludes our ceremonial portion of the evening. I would like, before inviting everyone to dessert, I just wanted to say one last thank you. You probably already heard about two very dedicated students who really worked for weeks on putting this all together. Jessica Rosen and Jill, and Jill Ohio, I'm sorry. And they really did, they outdid themselves. These beautiful, beautiful room decor that we see here is just magnificent. So we wanted to say a very big thank you. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make it tonight. And we would also like to give a very nice acknowledgement to the Jewish Federation of Ottawa, who helped make this event possible with a grant. So we really appreciate their partnership in this beautiful event. So thank you all so much for joining. A big mazel tov to all of the Bat Mitzvah girls, and please join us for some very festive dancing.